I'm thinking of starting a new series where I take a film that was absolutely panned by critics but I actually really like and make the case that it's not that bad. And I'm going to start with Seth Rogen's notorious Green Hornet movie, because it seems to be pretty much universally hated and I absolutely love it.
Red light, stop! Stop! Camera got us. Can I shoot one?
Back in the days of my youth, long before Netflix and Amazon Prime, if you wanted to watch a film remotely on one of your mobile devices, you had to buy it on iTunes. And since I couldn't afford a ton of them, I bought like 5 films ranging from Taxi Driver to Step Brothers, and watched those same 5 films over and over again. Among those select few were Superbad and Pineapple Express. These movies made me obsessed with Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg's writing. Their scripts are really funny, really silly, raunchy yet endearing, occasionally very dark but with an underlying sweetness, and also really solid storytelling. I wanted to be them when I grew up. In the early 2010s, after I'd watched Superbad and Pineapple Express about 400 times a pop and become infatuated with their career, Rogen and Goldberg had their 3rd screenplay produced, a big-budget reboot of The Green Hornet. I was irrationally excited for this film. A vigilante superhero movie from the minds behind Pineapple Express signed me the fuck up. And honestly, when it came out, I thought it lived up to the hype that only I seemed to have for it. I loved it. I watched it over and over again on the same loop as Superbad and Pineapple Express. But unlike Superbad and Pineapple Express, critics fucking despised it. Peter Bradshaw wrote almost everything about the film is disappointing. Richard Roeper called it a lazy, sloppy, unfunny comedy. Kenneth Turan called it an anemic 97-pound weakling of the action comedy persuasion. Roger Ebert called it an almost unendurable demonstration of a movie with nothing to be about. It has a 45% score on Rotten Tomatoes, which isn't awful, but is almost half of Superbad's 88%. And I'm here to tell you it's not that bad. Nostalgia is undoubtedly playing a big role in my affection for this movie. I can't really defend it as a masterpiece, but it is a solid action comedy with plenty of thrills, plenty of laughs, and a lovable crime-fighting duo at the heart of it.
Yo, you looking for that good stuff, man?
Hola, I am the Green Hornet, and I would like to sit down with your boss.
Sit on this, bitch.
I think the biggest complaint from fans of the original series is that it adapted a straightforward action-adventure series as a comedy. But what did you expect when Seth Rogen came on board? And this premise is so inherently ridiculous that honestly comedy is the only logical approach, and it has a nice balance of action and humor. The broader criticism was that Seth Rogen isn't very convincing as a superhero, and that's true, but the film acknowledges that. It wrings a lot of great gags out of his reliance on his sidekick Kato. If he didn't have Kato backing him up, he would have been killed instantly.
My nuts!
It's been a running joke in the Green Hornet fanbase that the Green Hornet himself isn't really the hero. Kato does the bulk of the crime fighting. The movie leans into that running joke and nails that dynamic. Kato does everything, the driving, the fighting, the strategizing, while Britt Reed pretty much just comes along for the ride. The two characters are contrasted with each other hilariously. Kato is amazing at everything but stays humble, while Britt is completely hopeless and yet has an unearned confidence and bravado.
If you keep talking like this, Kato, I'm gonna beat the living shit out of you.
The man, the myth, the legend, Bruce Lee is about as tough an actor as there could possibly be to replace in a role, and Jay Chow absolutely nails it. He captures Lee's out-and-out badassery, but he also captures the underlying humanity that made Lee so compelling and relatable. And he shares great chemistry with Rogen. You really buy their blossoming friendship, and their petty bickering is a joy to see. I would have loved to see this incarnation of the classic duo develop over the course of a franchise. Sony somehow managed to get Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind's Michel Gondry to direct The Green Hornet, so the movie is way more creatively shot and visually stunning than it had any right to be. Gondry uses split screens, time-lapse photography, dynamic action filmmaking, inventive scene transitions, and gives Kato a sort of Sherlock Holmes slow-mo fight vision. He shoots every sequence in the most interesting, outside-the-box way imaginable. The Green Hornet might not be as surreal or profoundly existential as you'd expect from a movie by the Eternal Sunshine guy, but it's just as gorgeous to look at. As much as I love the Green Hornet, I'm not going to pretend it's a perfect movie. It definitely has some flaws. It sticks to the typical Rogen-Goldberg formula, where two friends fall out and then make up.
Hey, Sethy, yeah, I added 9 dick jokes on page 4. And I was thinking that the guys are friends, and then they're not friends, and then at the end of the movie, they're friends again.
Even as a wide-eyed little kid in awe of their work, I could recognize that every single one of their films followed a pretty rigid formula. That same formula could be seen in Superbad and Pineapple Express, and they would later recycle it in This Is the End and The Interview. Even when he's visiting a dictator who's eager to launch nuclear weapons, or the literal Christian apocalypse is happening outside his window, Seth Rogen's biggest concern is falling out with his friends. Cameron Diaz's character, Brit's new secretary with ambitions to become a reporter, is pretty pointless. Diaz is capable of so much, and this role demands so little. She's just there to force in a love triangle that drives a wedge between Brit and Kato. But there's not much of a triangle, because she's instantly charmed by Kato, and she's instantly repulsed by Brit's constant harassment.
You've displayed 2 things. Balls. If there's one thing I like on my women, it's balls.
Are you kidding me?
That whole character and storyline feel completely unnecessary. There's already a solid conflict with Kato feeling undervalued by Brit. You don't have to also throw in a love triangle. It feels like the studio demanded a romantic interest to appeal to the female quadrants. I think female audiences are savvy enough to know when they're being pandered to, especially if they're not even being pandered to well.
Women will like what I tell them to like.
Christoph Waltz is fun to watch as the villainous Chudnovsky, but he inevitably feels underutilized compared to his Oscar-winning role in Inglourious Basterds, which at the time was still fresh in everyone's minds. Still, the Green Hornet used him better than the James Bond films would when he played Blofeld.
It was all me, James. It's always been me, the author of all your pain.
And honestly, it's not too difficult to overlook those flaws. All I really want out of a movie like this, a superhero buddy comedy, is to be entertained, and the Green Hornet certainly accomplishes that. It takes a refreshingly irreverent, subversively laid-back approach to a typical superhero origin story. The soundtrack slaps, as the kids say, with needle drops from Johnny Cash, the Rolling Stones, Van Halen, the White Stripes, and Coolio. And I love the nod to the original theme tune at the end of the film. Considering he's not typically an action director, Gondry really goes all out with the film's action. Car crashes, explosions, meticulously choreographed fisticuffs. The climactic sequence sees Kato driving half a car through a destroyed newspaper office. It just gets crazier and crazier and throws realism to the wind. Rogen and Chow have a really funny dynamic as the dopey, overconfident playboy and his exasperated foil, and there are also a few tender, emotional moments that make their burgeoning friendship feel real. I know the Green Hornet doesn't deserve a 100% Rotten Tomatoes score and a shelf full of Oscars, but it doesn't deserve a rotten score, and it definitely doesn't deserve to be a punching bag.
Seth, that's a better performance than you've given in your last 6 movies. Where the fuck was that in Green Hornet, huh?
Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you liked the video. Remember to like and subscribe and click on the little bell. And also seize the day and call your mom and be kind to yourself.